Hi, I'm Chuck Myron,
And I'm his wife, Taryn Myron.
and we're married to Saturdays.
Married to Saturdays. Welcome back.
Well, all right. I guess we got to address last week, which is another disappointing week for both our programs, both our teams.
Yes.
Um, uh, well, do you want to go first with Florida State, Florida, or should I go first with Tennessee, Vanderbilt?
Oh, why don't you go first with Tennessee Vanderbilt?
All right. Well, so it was a disaster of a game. Vandy running away with it in the second half, turning a halftime tie into a rout.
Right.
And so I think what that game came down to was the disparity in rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was it was in the 300s for Vanderbilt, and it was in the 50s for Tennessee.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so when you had that, and even though Tennessee had to, was able to force 2 turnovers.
Yes, they were. That
Vanderbilt
was great.
had it forced 0.
Mm-hmm.
So Tennessee won the turnover battle.
Right.
Even on pass yards, fairly even on penalty yards, even though there were a couple of tough penalties against Tennessee at the end of the first half. One was an offensive pass interference that short-circuited Tennessee's an opportunity for Tennessee to go up 2 touchdowns going into the half, and the other one was on the ensuing drive for Vanderbilt, a roughing the passer call that kept that drive alive and it enabled Vanderbilt then to tie the game at 21 going into the half.
Right.
So 2 very costly penalties for Tennessee, but penalty yardage on the whole evened out. So the disparity in the stats at the end of the day was that run defense, which has been the bugaboo for Tennessee all season long.
And Vanderbilt took advantage of that, and they knew that.
Well, I think that has led to a lot of the calls for Tim Banks' job, defensive coordinator Tim Banks. And, I think it makes sense in the context of this season because that run defense never got, it looked like it was showing signs of getting better toward the end of the season, but it was probably a byproduct of playing New Mexico State and Florida coming into that Vanderbilt game.
Right.
Tennessee gave up big rushing yards to teams that should not have been able to produce that.
Right.
So you look at this season and you say, well, that was the problem. Get rid of the D coordinator. And but this ignores the fact that the Tennessee's defense carried the team last year.
Right.
That was, Tennessee does not get to the playoffs without Tim Banks' defense.
Right. So do you give him another chance is the question.
Well, I think certainly Josh Heupel is going to do that. I think if he was going to make a move, we would know about it by now. Even though those defenses have lagged, I think you have to look at it in terms of half the roster for Tennessee being, either freshmen or redshirt freshmen.
Right.
That is, it was going to be a tough situation for this team to win this year anyway.
Right.
We knew that. Now, obviously, Joey Aguilar exceeded expectations.
Yes,
I think
he did well.
The defense underperformed, but I think we have to see what happens next year with a more experienced team, a good recruiting class coming in, and obviously then a tougher schedule next year. But everybody's going to have a tougher schedule in the SEC. And so
playing SEC's nine conference games now, correct?
9 conference games starting next year. So I think I think it's really just a frustrating time to be a Tennessee fan. With that loss to Vanderbilt, with the close loss to Georgia, knowing that hey, the luck just didn't break Tennessee's way this year.
It did not, unfortunately.
But look, there's still a bowl game to be played, and Now you got a great recruiting class coming
That's
in.
right.
Heupel's best so far according to the rankings.
Yes.
7th best recruiting class. Now, there is the situation with Legend Bay, who's the athlete sort of who played quarterback in high school, will probably be a wide receiver in college. He flipped from Ohio State to Tennessee.
Right.
Now we're hearing, well, maybe that really wasn't his choice. It was his family's choice, and he was getting pressured, and maybe doesn't really want to be at Tennessee. Look, these situations, unfortunately, not uncommon.
Right, they happen.
Yeah, so we'll see how that sorts itself out. But regardless, you've got a 5-star quarterback in Faison Brandon coming in,
that's great.
and I think it's going to be this is going to be an opportunity for the Tennessee program to continue to grow, and it seems to continue to be on a growth trajectory. I think the bowl game, bowl games aren't what they used to be.
Right.
So we can't say, well, if they win the bowl game, they'll be, that much better off than if they lose it. But it is important to get that practice time to make sure that the young team, especially with that young team, is able to get more reps, more maturity, more experience. So I think that more than anything else, more than even the result of the bowl game, will be important for the the experience and the growth of the players. Now, I think for the fans and for kind of the vibe around the program, I think it's important to build some positive momentum now, because like I said, it was a frustrating year to be a Tennessee Vols fan. But there are bright spots ahead, and maybe if we get a good bowl game, and win it, that'll help the perception around the program, and maybe make things a little easier for Josh Heupel going into next year.
I agree, and I think Tennessee's got a great opportunity in the bowl. They're going to play a team who's equal or similar to what Tennessee's been through this year. There's talks about possibly facing Iowa or Michigan or Georgia Tech, or it could be any other team. So I'm really excited to see what bowl Tennessee goes to and who they're playing. I think it's going to be a good matchup, whoever you're playing.
Yeah, and I think I think that really doesn't matter. The matchup doesn't really matter as much as how you perform in the game.
Right.
And so we're very curious to see who it's going to be.
Yes.
We'll wait and see. Lots to be decided this weekend. But I think hopefully, with the recruiting class, even with the Legend Bay situation, and maybe Tennessee can kind of wash its mouth out from a bad taste of the Vanderbilt loss.
Right, absolutely. It's a great way for Tennessee to bounce back a little bit. From that disappointing loss. Well, one team that will not be going to bowl season, unfortunately, is Florida State.
Right, and that was unfortunate because you had an opportunity to go to Gainesville against a struggling Florida team.
Yes.
And get to a bowl, and Florida State could not get it done.
They couldn't. It felt eerily like 2021. We were in the same situation. Florida State was 5-6, and they needed a win against Florida to get bowl eligible. It did not happen. Florida kept us out of the bowl in 2021. They did the same thing in 2025. However, Florida State started off playing well. At halftime, they were only down by 3 points. It was 17-14, and I think they really collapsed in the second half. The only offensive stat that we beat Florida on was passing yards. Tommy Castellanos had, I think, 240 to DJ Lagway's 180 something. But again, 2 years since we've won on the road. So that's not a great stat.
Well, and passing yards, a team that's playing from behind is apt to rack those up. So, yeah, the Florida State program it seems to be in a very bad spot.
Yes.
And now Mike Norvell is getting another chance. I think you heard some things about maybe Lane Kiffin connected to the program. Read some reports about him. And so maybe that had some influence as to why Mike Norvell, who hasn't won on the road in 2 years,
right.
is going to get another chance to lead this Florida State program.
And I think that's absolutely what it boils down to. Of course, we've read those reports where athletic director Mike Alford was courting Lane Kiffin privately, while Florida and LSU were courting him publicly. And because Lane Kiffin was not interested in coming to Tallahassee, that was the main motivator behind Alford keeping Norvell. Now, is that true? Is it fiction? We don't really know at this point. But we know it's at least been rumored. Norvell promises to make changes for 2026. Let's hope he comes through on that. He's done well with recruiting, surprisingly, for Florida State. He's kind of been known as like the king of the transfer portal. This didn't work out the last 2 seasons, of course, being the quote unquote king of the transfer portal. According to 24/7 Sports, Florida State has the 14th highest recruiting class. This is the largest recruiting class that Mike Norvell has had in his tenure at Florida State. We don't have any 5-star recruits yet, but we do have some notable ones. We have a 4-star linebacker, Isaiah Williams, coming, so that should be really exciting. And of course, everybody knows this name, Jonah Winston, Jameis Winston's younger brother, has signed. He is also he's 3-star recruit. So I'm excited about the 2026 season, moderately excited, but I wouldn't be surprised if in a year from now that we're talking about a new coach or a potential coaching search going on at Florida State.
Well, I think regardless of whether whether there's much fire to that smoke around Lane Kiffin and Florida State, I don't know why Florida State would try to put all its eggs in one basket.
Right.
That it's either got to be Mike Norvell or Lane Kiffin, two very flawed options there.
For sure.
But I think Florida State you got to focus on the future because the now isn't much to look at.
Right.
So hopefully this good recruiting class translates into good results on the field.
Right, and Florida State's got to find a new quarterback. They have to do that before going into 2026. We have Kevin Sperry, that's definitely a possibility. Of course, we have Brock Glenn, but we know Brock Glenn hasn't done much. So we'll see if Mike Norvell's going to find someone in the transfer portal or possibly, stick with Sperry. So we'll see what happens.
Well, as Tennessee in particular learned last year, miles to go if you talk about what's your 2026 roster going to look like. From early December until you kick it off, in fall. So
that's true.
I think. We still got transfer portal, spring football, and we'll see what happens.
Exactly, it's going to be an exciting off season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, but before we get to that, we have a lot of coaching changes. I know that we want to talk about. Kiffin, I think, has been talked to death.
Yes.
We all know. Look, Mississippi now knows what Tennessee found out a long time ago about Lane Kiffin.
Right.
And it's it makes you wonder. All this attention and money for a coach who has never been a head coach in the playoffs before.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been if
right.
he had not left and Mississippi had said you cannot coach in the playoff.
I certainly understand that.
And but this is a guy with a lot of hype around him.
He does.
But very, very little substance in terms of actual real results.
Right.
Did a great job with Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Can't deny that. But I think that he's the hype around this, it's almost as if you had like a Nick Saban,
right,
or like a championship coach,
like a Ryan Day. Yes,
and so I think, well, the school with the most of the maybe one of the messiest, if not the messiest, coaching search situation this year, and the coach with the messiest rumors around. Now they're together. Lane Kiffin and LSU.
What a partnership.
Right.
And the expectations are going to be so high for Lane Kiffin at LSU. Whether it's Kiffin or anyone else at LSU, they're going to be expected to win a national championship year one.
Well, I think that's entirely unrealistic.
I do too.
I just think that, I mean, you can microwave things in this day and age because of the transfer portal, but I think if that's truly the expectation there, then I can't imagine that they'll get a good outcome.
Right. So yeah, we'll see what that happens. But there's a lot of other coaching changes. Let's talk about some of them.
Yeah, one that really stands out to me, particularly as a Tennessee fan, is Oregon offensive coordinator Will Stein
Yes.
going to Kentucky.
Yes.
Kentucky native, and as somebody who has been well thought of throughout this coaching change cycle.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be an upgrade over what they've had there with Stoops, with Mike Stoops, Mark Stoops for years.
Great defensive mind he is, so it's going to be interesting to see the difference.
Right. So I think look, it remains to be seen whether he can come and coach in the SEC.
Yes.
That's quite another crucible. He's also making that step up from coordinator to head coach. But I think Kentucky should be optimistic about what they have there.
I think that was a good fit for Kentucky.
Yeah, and I think also another home run hire is at USF.
Yes.
The Ryan Hartline.
What a hire. You know? And as a Florida State fan, I need to be worried about this because I think he's a great recruiter. So hopefully he won't take our recruits from Florida State and bring them to Tampa. Now, of course, Florida State is in the ACC. It's a Power 4 school. You got USF, who's the group of 5. But you also have the allure of Tampa, Florida. And there's so much to do there, and it's a great environment. So, as a Florida State fan, you're definitely competing with that.
Well, look, he turned Ohio State as offensive coordinator into wide receiver U.
Yes.
So, you wonder what can he do? Can he do something similar at USF?
Right.
Now, entirely different circumstance, right? And not just the geography of it, but you got a group of 5, or I guess next year will be a group of 6 school that you're operating at. Not exactly Ohio State.
No, definitely not.
So can you attract the same kind of players there,
right?
Or enough of those same kind of players there for him to make a difference? And again, you have somebody going from that coordinator position to head coach, but. Look, it's either that or what we call retread.
Right.
So you have to at some point get some new blood in there. And I think USF did a tremendous job. That was somebody who I think has been connected to just about every job in terms of somebody that a program might want.
Correct.
And suddenly he shows up at USF.
Which I think we were all surprised by that. I know he was a target of Penn State as well.
Yeah, and of course that USF opening is there because Alex Galesh,
right?
It went to the SEC.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And I know you're very excited about that.
Yeah. So I think with Galesh at Auburn, it's going to be really interesting to see a Josh Heupel disciple.
Yes.
Now in the conference, and somebody that Tennessee's going to have to play every other year.
Correct.
You can't hide. In the old days, Tennessee and Auburn would play maybe once every 6 years or so.
Right.
But not quite that way. Coming up with the new 9-game schedule and rotation in the SEC.
Exactly.
So, and then I think you have some folks that jumped out to you in this coaching search as well.
Yeah, of course. Florida, our biggest rival, hiring John Summerall from Tulane. I don't know why Florida went this direction. I feel like they're doing the same thing that they did last time when they hired Billy Napier. Now, I know John Summerall is not Billy Napier. I don't think it was the best fit for Florida. I think they could have done better, to be honest. I think Florida could have done a better job, maybe by getting someone like Will Stein and Brian Hartline. I think that might have been a better fit. But we'll see what happens.
Well, Tulane has been successful.
They have.
And, they have an opportunity, I think, to get into the playoff this year.
Yes, they do. Yes.
So I think, look, Summerall, it's hard to say until you get there, right?
Of course.
But we'll see with him. And Billy Napier, by the way, he's already
Yes.
apparently found another job at James Madison.
That's correct.
James Madison's coach went to
Bob
UCLA.
Chesney, yes.
The carousel continues to turn.
It does. And speaking of California coaches,
Mhm.
I also want to just talk briefly about Stanford's new head coach, Tavita Pritchard, who was the quarterback coach. And he's never had a head coaching job. He's never even been a coordinator. So I don't really like this hire for Stanford. Of course, we know Andrew Luck is the GM at Stanford. He's a friend of his. And I could be wrong. Pritchard could do amazing things at Stanford. But I don't think that was necessarily a home run hire.
Well, I think you're seeing a little bit of the effect of the GM
Yes.
model, where you have not just a head coach, but you have a GM who's kind of running things there.
Mhm.
And this is it might be a good test case for that model, whether you really want a GM
Right.
in college football.
And Florida also hired a GM for the first time,
That's
just
right.
on the side note.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, we'll see if that works out, if he and Summerall are going to be able to work together,
Yes.
or do they work against one another?
Exactly. I'm sure there'll be more coaching changes as the season is still wrapping up.
Including at Penn State, they got to find somebody
Yes,
eventually,
poor
right?
Penn State. And I think, honestly, Florida State kind of saw what Penn State has been going through and maybe decided they didn't want any of that.
Yeah. Well, needless to say, it's been a nightmare year for Penn State.
It really has.
They are going to a bowl, though. They
Yes.
won that basically bowl play-in game,
Right,
where
between
you
them
have
and Rutgers, yes.
They had 5-6 Rutgers, 5-6 Penn State.
Yes.
Penn State came away with a victory. Who's going to coach that team?
Maybe Mike Tomlin from the Steelers, apparently.
That's what some of the old Steelers won. I don't know
Yes.
if that's realistic.
Right.
I think certainly a program in disarray right now.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State.
I agree. It's sad to see.
So, but enough about the future. We've got
Yes.
we got a poll, got the rankings
That's
here.
right. We sure do.
And championship weekend
Yes.
to come. So let's talk a little bit about who's overrated, underrated, and properly rated as we head into the final week before we get into the playoffs.
That's right. So we've got some new additions at the bottom of this poll. So starting at number 25, we have James Madison.
Well, I think they deserve to be there. It's interesting that they are where they are, and the as a Sun Belt team,
Mhm.
okay. And I think if I'm not mistaken from seeing the poll as it was unveiled, I think we're going to see two American Conference teams
Mhm.
above them, which kind of maybe shuts them out, but maybe not really because of the situation in the ACC.
Correct. There's all kinds of chaos.
Yeah. So, but in a normal year, being ranked behind not one but two American teams would be a death knell for James Madison's chances.
But they still have a shot to get in the playoffs, and they're going to play Friday against Troy in the Sun Belt Championship.
Well, but absolutely, these Group of 5 teams deserve to be in the poll.
Mhm.
They haven't been in the poll a whole lot, or the CFP rankings. I think the 3 Group of 5 teams that have been in that ranking have distinguished themselves, so they belong.
Okay,
So
so
properly rated.
James Madison is properly rated. Well, at number 24, we have another Group of 5 team new to the playoff rankings in North Texas.
Yeah.
They also have a coaching change.
Yeah, they do. But I actually think they're a little underrated. I think they should be rated more highly than Tulane, because Tulane has an extra loss.
Correct.
And
North Texas only has 1 loss.
You can say, well, Tulane has that extra loss because they competed against, a Power 4 team in
Right.
Mississippi that's a playoff team.
Mhm.
But, they got drilled.
Right,
So,
exactly.
I don't think that really means all that much.
Mhm.
To me, I think North Texas should have that edge in the poll. We'll get to see how that plays out on the
Right.
field, of course, in
Right.
the American Championship game. But that's how I would rank them. I would rank North Texas above Tulane.
I agree, and I also think that North Texas is a little underrated here.
Yes.
All right, number 23, making its entrance this week, a 4-loss team from the Big Ten, Iowa.
interesting that they shoehorn Iowa in here.
And not Tennessee.
And not Tennessee. Well, they shoehorn them in between the two American
yes.
teams. And then, you have. Maybe it's a statement that the Big Ten is stronger than the SEC this year. Of course, you have Oregon and Indiana right at the top there. Or excuse me, Indiana and Ohio State right at the top there, and Oregon there too.
Right.
Very close. Where there is a scenario where maybe you could get 3 Big Ten teams with a bye in the playoffs.
Possibly.
That's a possibility. I don't know how realistic it is, but it's a possibility. And so you say, well, maybe that means the Big Ten is better overall than the SEC.
Right.
And so if you have a 4-loss Big Ten team, maybe you should have that in over a 4-loss SEC team. I don't really buy it. I
agree.
I think, and maybe we'll get a chance to see how this plays out between Iowa and Tennessee
maybe.
In a bowl game.
Perhaps.
I think, look, I think it's really interesting that Tennessee at one point was the only 3-loss team.
Correct.
In the poll, and now they are left out behind another 4-loss team in Iowa. Look, I just think it probably is a statement about the way Tennessee lost that game at home to Vanderbilt.
Maybe if the loss would have been closer, Tennessee would still be ranked.
I think Iowa's a little overrated still because why shoehorn them in between the group of 5 teams there? I guess they had to say, well, we got to put somebody in there, and we didn't like the way Tennessee lost against Vanderbilt.
Right.
The way they lost in that second half.
Right. Absolutely could be. All right. So number 22, we have Georgia Tech.
It's another team shoehorn. Boy, they really think Tulane is that much better than North Texas.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It gets better.
So Georgia Tech, should be a really frustrated team because
it should be.
Why Virginia and Duke and the ACC too? I mean, those
right. That makes no sense
don't,
for Duke.
Don't make a whole lot of sense. Unfortunately, Georgia Tech is another team whose defense let them down.
Yes.
And so that's why they're where they are. Once a team that had a shot at the playoffs.
Right.
But with that tiebreaker situation in the ACC, they got to get that sorted out.
I agree. I mean, to have a 5-loss team, even though you only have 2 conference losses in the ACC championship game.
Speaking about Duke, that's the 5-loss team.
That's right.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But Georgia Tech, a little underrated, I think.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. All right. I think I agree with you. I think Georgia Tech's played better than number 22 team.
Yes.
We'll see. Number 21, we're going to go to the Big 12 with Houston as a 3-loss team.
Another shoehorn team.
Another shoehorn.
I don't believe in Houston.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm not sure why Houston is ranked above Georgia Tech.
I don't know why Houston is ranked at all.
I guess it's the value then of the relative value of the Big 12 and the ACC. That's what we're seeing playing out there.
I agree.
But I think if you match those 2 teams up, Georgia Tech would win. So
I agree.
Because and remember, one of those 3 losses for Georgia Tech is to Georgia.
Right.
So.
And only by 7, I think.
Not, it wasn't a blowout.
No,
it wasn't Tulane and Mississippi.
No, exactly.
So look, I would flip those. You have a little bit of recency bias, I think.
Sure. Playing
against Georgia Tech there, so Houston a little overrated, Georgia Tech a little underrated.
I agree with you. All right, at number 20, we have Tulane.
Finally, they're probably overrated, right?
I agree.
They're not that much better.
They're very overrated, I think.
Than at North Texas and James Madison, I wouldn't imagine.
I agree.
The resume doesn't say that they are. They could go prove it on the field, but to right now to say, well, that's number 20, and then North Texas is number 24, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Right, and they'll prove it on the field.
If they or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll prove, hey, we were right.
They'll prove something on the field. We just don't know what. And I agree with you. They are overrated. All right. So number 19, we have Michigan.
So Michigan that was such an interesting game.
That was a sad game to watch for Michigan.
It was. Like most of America who loves college football, watching that game, and you saw Michigan, instead of getting touchdowns on its first two drives, settling for field goals.
Right.
Field goals are not going to beat an offense like Ohio State.
You're not going to beat Ohio State with field goals.
And so instead of up 14-0, they were up 6-0, and that's when I said, I don't think Michigan is going to win this game.
And you were right.
Even though everything had gone their way and everything had gone against Ohio State to that point.
Right.
It looked like a lesser team. A team that isn't as mentally tough, it doesn't have that championship pedigree that Ohio State does, could have just said, "Hey, here we go again."
Yes.
It's kind of turning against us. We had a pick. We're down two field goals. It's all coming down and crashing down on us. And that was exactly not what Ohio State thought. They gathered themselves and wound up blowing out Michigan.
Exactly.
And so Michigan
in the snow.
Yeah, exactly. Tough conditions to play in, but fun can be fun if you look at it that way. So I think, Michigan. Sure, they're right there. I don't know. That feels like a team in the 20s to me.
I agree.
I know that they had an opportunity. They were 15, and it's tough to beat number one.
Of course.
So you can't slide that far. But
but they were blown out. It's not like it was a close loss.
Yeah. That said, who are you going to put over Michigan, right?
Right.
Of those teams like Houston, Georgia Tech. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The group of 5 teams. I'm not sure. Certainly not Iowa.
Certainly not.
Yeah, so
or even Tennessee.
I think ultimately you have to say Michigan is properly rated, given the circumstances.
We don't love it, but properly rated.
Yeah, they are where they got to be.
All right, at number 18, we have an interesting 3-loss Big 12 team in Arizona.
Arizona. And this was a team that beat Arizona State.
They did.
But a hobbled Arizona State team.
Yes.
And again, you're seeing a statement about how the committee is viewing the Big 12.
Yes.
I think that so you're taking a Big 10 team with 3 losses and ranking them behind a Big 12 team with 3 losses. That's a big statement to me.
To me too.
Yeah, and so I don't know that maybe Michigan should be 18 and Arizona should be 19. Maybe Michigan is underrated. All said at the end of the day, because hey, it can't have everybody can't be overrated. Everybody can't be underrated. You got to rank them somewhere somehow.
Yes.
And
so
that
maybe
just,
flip Michigan and Arizona.
Yeah, because to me it just feels like, well, gee. Why is Arizona where they are as a Big 12 team, and Michigan is where they are as a Big 10 team? And you got, you look at Michigan's schedule, where they got to play Ohio State.
Right.
Arizona hasn't played any Ohio States.
No.
So, I think that's...
And don't forget, Michigan also played Oklahoma and USC as well.
And they lost to
all of them.
All of them, but
they still played them.
they still played them. That's not the kind of teams that Arizona lost.
I don't think so.
So, Arizona overrated, Michigan underrated.
I agree. All right, at number 17, we have Virginia, who will be playing for the ACC Championship.
So, and now this is interesting, right? ACC team, 3 losses, or
2 losses.
2 losses.
2 losses.
2 losses. ACC team though. And this is why the ACC really has to fix that tiebreaker.
Yes, they do.
Why they have a third-party metric in there and not, hey, you know what's a great metric to have for breaking ties is the CFP ranking.
Right.
Because if part of your job is getting teams in the playoff, if you're going to be measured by how many teams did you have in the playoff,
right,
then maybe CFP ranking ought to be something
Should be a
in there
metric.
for determining who's getting into the conference championship
That's
game,
right.
as opposed to what is it, Sports Source or something nobody's ever heard of,
Right.
getting in there and determining some of the tiebreakers. So, bad job for the ACC, but
Yes.
Virginia, I think they're properly rated where they are, because they, have been really one of the leading ACC teams all year long.
They have.
Really, and it's a shame, I think, that they're not going to get a chance to measure themselves against Miami.
I agree. That would be the ideal ACC championship game.
Right.
All right, well, we'll go to number 16, which is USC.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're ahead of Michigan,
which they should be.
They gotta be. They gotta be below Notre Dame, right?
Right.
That's how they played. I think they're properly rated.
I agree with you.
Yeah. I think USC, now they've got a really good recruiting class coming in.
They do.
Number one. So are we seeing a little bit of the resurrection of USC?
We might be
coming here. So
it's been a long time since we've seen it.
It has been a long time.
It's nice to see again.
Yeah, I properly rated USC.
I agree. All right, number 15, we have Utah.
Yeah. So Utah, really interesting that they dropped.
They dropped a little bit, probably because they, really struggled last week.
Right. At Kansas. Now, conference road game,
But it's Kansas.
Right. It is Kansas. But Utah, I think, had been overrated.
Right.
So you're seeing a little bit of a correction from the committee, and what I will give the committee credit for is they don't say, well, we ranked the team this way one week, and if they win, we got to rank them this way, the next week. They're willing to change and really almost sort of admit their mistakes as the season is going along. So I think that with you see Utah dropping, might not be so much a reflection of, well, they had a tight game with Kansas.
Correct.
But the committee, realizing, we kind of have them a little too high.
Overranking them. Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with you. All right. Number 14, we have Vanderbilt.
Well, yeah. This is the ranking that drove Vanderbilt insane, because they were going to go play in Hawaii or Alaska or the moon or wherever they needed to do to get an exhibition game to maybe influence the committee,
right?
Which you got to give them credit for
trying
a radical idea. I mean, who wouldn't want to see Vanderbilt go out there and give it a shot?
Yes.
But ultimately, it's interesting because it's an SEC team, an SEC school, but the best win was probably Tennessee.
It was Tennessee.
A Tennessee team that's not ranked right now.
Their best wins are really Tennessee and Missouri.
And that's it's wild that you can get an SEC team to go through the regular season with 2 losses and no marquee wins.
Right.
So this is a reflection of that, and you got to you kind of feel bad for Vanderbilt, because what are you supposed to do?
They did what they were supposed to do. It's not their fault for an easy schedule.
Yeah, it's not their fault. They scheduled a Power 4 opponent out of conference in Virginia Tech. Not their fault. Virginia Tech is in the dilapidated shape that they're in. So and they were competitive at times. In that Alabama game, they didn't get their doors blown off.
No.
So I think Vanderbilt is a little underrated where they are. I think they deserve, as a 2-loss SEC team, even though they don't have a lot of impressive wins, maybe one more spot. Maybe one more spot.
Maybe.
Because who do we have?
In that number 13 spot, we have a 1-loss BYU.
Well,
so who do you rank here? They have 1 loss though, and it's Texas Tech.
They do, and they've got a chance to avenge that loss.
They sure do.
The playoff.
Yes.
I think BYU is underrated. I think you got to look at that and say 1 loss.
Right.
But again,
and it's a Texas Tech. It's a Lost to a very good team.
I think it's interesting that you see the committee kind of favor the Big 12 in some
Which is
circumstances,
odd, right?
but not here.
Right.
But not here. And so, to me, this one does make a lot of sense. That BYU is ranked as low as they are. Now, I think if they lose to Texas Tech again, obviously they'd be out of the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
But this to me just doesn't make much sense for them to be where they are.
I agree. They should be a little higher, but it gets harder as we get closer to the top here. And number 13. Number 12. We have Miami.
Yeah, and maybe what we see with Vanderbilt, they're just a little stuck.
Right.
Because they just didn't have that marquee win.
Well, I missed a team. I'm sorry. So 14 was Vanderbilt. 13 was actually Texas.
Oh.
I'm sorry. BYU was 11.
Yeah.
By the way,
all right.
So I apologize.
I thought that was a little low. Texas. So what is a 3-loss SEC team doing above a 2-loss SEC team? That's why Vanderbilt is underrated. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Because look, I get that Texas had the marquee win over Texas A&M, but they also lost to Florida.
They did. But they also played Ohio State close.
They did play Ohio State close. Texas is a funny team.
They beat Oklahoma.
They beat Oklahoma, but without John Matthews.
Right, exactly. So is that a half win?
They're a difficult team to
they
make.
Are.
But I think if you're gonna stack them up, I'd rather see Vanderbilt above Texas.
I agree.
Because of that,
the Florida loss.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. Like if Texas hadn't lost that Florida game, they're probably looking at a playoff bid.
Oh, right easily.
Yeah. So to me, I think that's just look. Two is less than 3. And you're in the same conference, and the schedules are a little different. But that said, again, the relative strength of Virginia Tech and Ohio State,
right?
That has to play into it as well.
Completely different.
Yeah,
This is a hard one.
That's tough. That's tough. So, but I think
would you switch Vanderbilt and Texas?
Because Texas dared to play Ohio State, because you play against the number 1 team and you play them tough.
Yes.
You play them within a touchdown. Look, I think that you deserve some credit. So sure, I'll give at the end of the day, I'll give Texas the nod, as the committee did. Say they're properly rated at 13, and Vanderbilt's properly rated at 14.
Okay.
Even though it's a shame that a 2-loss SEC team has to be really excluded from the playoffs.
Absolutely.
I think every SEC team. Think about Tennessee. They were a 2-loss team last year,
right?
And they got in. So, I think Vanderbilt just the victim of a schedule that didn't break their way.
Right. And again, that's not Vanderbilt's fault.
No.
They did what they needed to do. So let's go back to number 12, which is Miami.
Yeah.
Now, this is a really interesting one.
Well, they're underrated.
Absolutely,
we know
they are.
Because look, if it doesn't really much matter what you think about Notre Dame and Miami, because they both have the same number of losses, and Miami beat Notre Dame.
Exactly.
They proved it on the field that they're the better team.
Right.
Doesn't matter that it was in the first week. Unless we want to say, well, everything up to October is the preseason.
Right.
Unless we want to live in that kind of world.
Which we don't.
No. So we went over this on the podcast last week. And we see the committee inching Notre Dame back down a little bit. Closer to Miami. I think the committee is going to do the right thing at the end of the day.
I hope so.
They kind of telegraphed it with what they did with Utah there, dropping them down, even though they won. So I think at the end of the day, if it comes down to Miami and Notre Dame for a playoff spot, I think they're going to choose Miami, because you have to honor the result on the field.
Exactly.
Think about it. If the NFL said, Well, look, we know that Buffalo beat whoever they beat. Just name a team that Buffalo beat
Kansas City.
in Kansas City. So if Buffalo and Kansas City end up tied for a wild card spot, and they say, well, we're going to let in Kansas City because we think that they look better in the eye test.
Right.
We're going to say, well, they had a better strength of schedule, or they had their better margin of victory against
Other
Syracuse
teams,
or
right.
whoever. Everyone would lose their mind.
Exactly.
Because that's not how that operates.
Right.
And it should be the same thing in college football.
Exactly.
Where a head-to-head result, if you have an equivalent number of losses, should dictate.
That should be the next tiebreaker.
Yes. It should be the first tiebreaker.
Right.
So.
Right. And we've already said this. Yes, Miami should be ranked above Notre Dame.
Yeah.
No question about it.
That means Miami is underrated.
Yes.
Where they are.
Yes. And because we haven't called Notre Dame's name yet, we already know they're overrated. But again, correction, 11 BYU.
BYU.
Properly rated.
I think so.
I think they're a little underrated because I think BYU should also be ahead of Notre Dame and Miami with the one loss.
Yeah, they only have one loss. It's to a playoff team. Notre Dame has 2 losses to playoff teams.
Exactly.
So, or it would be playoff teams. So,
yes.
I think I go back to what I said earlier. It's really weird how the committee is treating the Big 12.
Yes.
And it's also really unfortunate that there aren't that many Big 12 out of conference data points to kind of compare. The Big 12 contenders simply didn't play those games.
As opposed to, the other 3 Power 4 conferences.
Right. Where you do have those crossover comparisons.
Exactly. So. Exactly. And Notre Dame as well. We'll throw them in there as well.
Yeah. So I would agree with you. I think BYU is underrated.
I agree. And speaking of underrated, overrated, we just talked about this team at number 10, which is Notre Dame.
Obviously overrated because they're ahead of Miami.
Right. So again, they should be, they're definitely overrated.
And it's not to say that Notre Dame hasn't had a good season.
They sure have. They've won 10 games in a row.
And and they dared to play tough teams, in Miami and Texas A&M.
And USC.
But ultimately, if it comes down to that tough team that you played and Notre Dame for a playoff spot, you got to take that team that beat Notre Dame.
Exactly.
It's just the way it is.
It's just logical.
Yeah.
Number 9, this team went up 1, Alabama.
Yeah, because the committee felt, okay, Alabama is a better team than Notre Dame. Which, by the way, Alabama didn't have to beat Notre Dame to prove that.
That's right.
The committee just decided it. I think it makes sense given just the sheer volume of quality opponents on Alabama's schedule. You got the loss to Florida State.
The bad loss too. Yes.
But lost to Oklahoma. Okay, but then you're beating Georgia. You're beating Vanderbilt.
You're beating Tennessee.
Missouri. And so LSU. Now LSU's not very good.
Well, they're a bad LSU team, but they still have 4 losses.
But here's the thing a little bit for Alabama too is Tennessee and Missouri are not in the rankings.
Right.
Vanderbilt is.
Georgia is.
Georgia certainly is.
Yes.
But so they do have a lot of quality wins. But you look at Notre Dame's schedule, it doesn't really quite measure up because
absolutely.
They have USC, but they don't have a Georgia.
Right.
That they went out and beat.
Right.
They don't have a Florida State that they lost to.
Exactly.
But I think ultimately the committee is saying, look, we want to think about who you beat, ultimately, and not necessarily who you lose to.
Right.
Unless the team that you're comparing is a head-to-head result.
Right.
But I think you got to favor who do you beat? Who are you on your best day?
And I think Alabama's properly rated for all those reasons.
Now, it's probably not going to matter because Alabama's either going to jump up if they beat Georgia again,
exactly,
or they're going to fall back with a third loss. Now, I think where the controversy might come in, some of the controversy is Alabama earned its way into the SEC championship.
They did.
And if they lose to a team that they already beat this year, is that third loss going to knock them out of the playoffs?
That's a great question.
You know, could it be Notre Dame and Miami get in, but Alabama gets knocked out?
Right.
I think that's a fascinating test for the committee because, do we punish teams for making the conference championship?
Even though it would be their third loss.
Right, and maybe maybe that's something that went into the ACC's mind when they said we don't want to have a highly ranked CFP team in the championship game.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
All right, so let's move on to number 8, which is Oklahoma.
Yeah, look, they're the king of the 2 lost teams, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
yes.
They have that sterling win over Alabama.
Right. They beat Michigan as well.
They beat Michigan. One of their losses was to Texas without their starting quarterback, and Texas is a very credible opponent. So this is this is right where Oklahoma should be.
Exactly. Also, their other loss, I believe, was to Mississippi. So, great team as well.
Yeah.
Which we haven't called their name yet. All right, so let's get to a lot of these one-loss teams. So at number 7, we have Texas A&M.
Well, this is really interesting to see Texas A&M get punished the way they were. So they were the lowest of the unbeaten teams, and then they get beaten by Texas.
Right.
And on the road, at Texas,
yes,
tough environment, rivalry game.
Right.
They lose it, and now suddenly they're at the bottom of that stack of one-loss teams. Of course, they're not below BYU,
right?
But they're at the bottom of that stack. I think it's an overreaction. I think it's recency bias. I think Texas A&M is underrated at number 7.
I think they're better than that. I think they're better than 7. All right, at number 6, we have Mississippi.
Yeah.
What I'm glad to see is that the Lane Kiffin decision did not play into this ranking.
Right, and it really shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Lane Kiffin is not going to block or tackle.
Exactly. He's not on the field.
And the lessons of coaching are not going to just disappear.
Right.
The wisdom that he imparted. So yeah, I would hate to see Mississippi at all get punished because Lane Kiffin is not there. Hey, it might be an advantage. It might be a rallying point for the team that he's not there anymore. We just don't know how the team is going to respond. So why not give them a chance with the position that they've earned? Now,
exactly.
Are they overrated, underrated, properly rated where they are? I actually think, look, they're underrated.
I do too. Their only loss was to Georgia.
Right. And so, and obviously with some quality wins, i.e. Oklahoma.
Correct.
So, yeah, I think they're underrated. I think there's another one-loss team. I think we're going to talk about this a little overrated.
Number 5, we have Oregon. Is that the one-loss team you're talking about?
Well, so Oregon, their marquee win is USC. That's the one they're hanging their hats on.
Right.
That and Iowa, which is also in the rankings. Argue whether they should be, but they're there. And of course, the losses to Indiana.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's not a bad loss.
No,
by any
not
stretch
at all.
of the imagination.
Not at all.
I'm comfortable with Oregon where they are. I think it's really interesting that Oregon is above 2 SEC teams. Again, we see the committee making a statement about the Big Ten.
I agree.
In a couple of different ways. So, I think I would rather see maybe a little checkerboarding with the Big Ten and the SEC, where you have that Big Ten team in between the 2 SEC teams. So I think in that regard, I think Oregon is properly rated because I think I would move those SEC teams up a little bit and put Oregon in the middle.
I agree with you. And then, of course, we'll get to number 4, which is Texas Tech. I think you and I might
They're-
feel the same way on this one.
They're overrated.
They are
overrated.
completely overrated.
They don't have anywhere near the caliber of victory that the SEC teams do. That Texas,
Correct.
that certainly Mississippi has, or that Texas A&M or Oregon has.
Correct.
So I think look, that's an overrated team.
I agree. I would put them down at number 7. Now, yes, Texas Tech beat BYU in pretty much blowout fashion, and that's a great win for Texas Tech. Not taking anything away from them, but you're right. Their win is not as good as the others' best wins.
And I would question the idea. I see Texas Tech listed as a lock for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
If they go out and lose to the team that is their best win, and now they have 2 losses, including one to Arizona State.
Mm-hmm.
What is on Tech's resume then to say that they deserve to be in the playoffs? Yes, a win against then the Big 12 champ.
Sure.
But that's kind of canceled out by the fact that you also lost to that same team on a neutral site,
right?
As opposed to beating them at home like Texas Tech did.
Correct.
And so I think when you think of there are a lot of deserving 2-loss teams out there. And if Texas Tech becomes a 2-loss team, I wouldn't automatically just say that's a playoff team.
I agree. And honestly, if they lose to BYU, I think they should be out. I think there's a lot of other 2-loss teams who deserve to be in the playoff way more. And even possibly a 3-loss Alabama team would be more deserving than a 2-loss Texas Tech team, if that were to happen.
Yeah, and I think, I think this is part of the problem that we have this season where none of the Big 12 contenders played, in any of the other playoff contenders.
Right.
We just don't have comparison points, and that makes it really hard to say, who's who. And
exactly.
I think the Big 12, it might be a little overrated in these rankings, but it's just so hard to say. And that's part of the unfortunate thing with a regular season that is as short as it is in college football.
Exactly. All right, number 3, we have Georgia. This is the highest ranked 1-loss team.
They absolutely belong.
I agree.
Yeah.
Look at their great wins. They, yes, they lost to Alabama, but they beat Mississippi. They beat Tennessee. So, lots of good wins for Georgia.
Well, I think...
Plus, they beat Georgia Tech.
Right. Which they are fresh off of.
Yes.
And, I think that they have an opportunity then to play their way and secure a bye by winning that SEC championship.
Exactly.
Now, question then becomes, if they lose that SEC championship, 2 losses to Alabama, do they still deserve a bye? I don't know if that's the case.
I don't think they do.
No. So I think they've got something to play for.
They do.
With this game against Alabama.
They
and
absolutely
certainly
do.
Alabama does too. So that I think we think about compelling conference championship games. SEC certainly is one.
Right. And then, of course, we have number 2 and number 1. Everybody knows. Number 2, Indiana, who's playing number 1, Ohio State this weekend.
2 properly rated teams.
Absolutely.
The unfortunate thing is, I get that there is going to be competitive juice because, you get out on the field and you want to compete and you want to win.
Right.
I think unless one team just destroys the other, both are going to get buys in the playoffs.
I agree.
So really, you're just playing for seeding, and you look at it on the schedule. The last 2 unbeatens,
right?
And in all of college football history, that usually means a colossal game with colossal implications,
exactly.
if not everything. And this is probably the least important game between the last 2 unbeaten teams in college football in the history of the sport.
Interesting.
Yeah. Name
it's a bold
another
statement.
Well,
I can't.
Right. So I think I look at that game and I just think of what could have been, because guess what? If I'm coaching Ohio State or Indiana, I'm going to hold something back because I know I could see that same team in the playoffs in a few weeks, down the road, and maybe in the championship game.
Possibly.
So, look, it's a game with some implications. Why not get a number 1 seed? It's better than having a number 4 seed, I guess.
Sure.
But that might just the net effect of the game might just mean one team is wearing their road jerseys in the semifinals and the other team is wearing their home jerseys.
Right. Exactly.
I just think I look at that game and I just get so disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. So both teams properly rated as of today.
As of today. All right. Well, quick talk about recap of the championship games. Of course, we have the four. We have the group of 5 games, which let's talk about those.
They're Friday. Actually really important.
They're really important this year because James Madison has Troy.
Yes.
All right. Let's hold on to that for a moment. We have Tulane and North Texas in that American Championship. Okay, winner is into the playoffs.
Yes.
That much we know because of the way the committee rankings are.
Right.
So that's a de facto playoff game right there.
Exactly.
Then if Duke wins the ACC and James Madison wins the
Sun Belt.
The Sun Belt.
And they beat Troy for the Sun Belt. Yes.
Well, then I think the general consensus is you're going to get James Madison in there over the ACC champion.
So you're going to have James Madison and the winner of the American Conference game.
Right. So you could have 2 group of 5 teams.
Isn't that wild? We never thought that. This playoff format was not made for that.
No, it wasn't. It was never thought of that could happen.
That's
but
right.
Here we are. Where it gets really intriguing is what if Troy beats James Madison and Duke beats Virginia? Who goes to the playoffs then? Who gets that bid?
That's a great question. Is it going to be Troy or someone else from the group of 5? Or is it going to be Duke?
Right. Or could it be Mountain West team?
Right. There's that talk as well.
Well,
I think Friday's going to be more interesting than we originally thought.
Yeah.
For conference championship weekend.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. So, I think, look.
So we'll be watching all those conference championship games on Friday as well.
Yeah, and so the Troy James Madison Sun Belt game, 7:00 ESPN. The American Championship between North Texas and Tulane. That's going to be 8:00 on ABC.
Okay. So great games.
And then the Mountain West, if we're thinking about that, UNLV at Boise State. UNLV's 10-2. Dan Mullen is there.
Yes, he is.
That one 8:00 Friday night on Fox.
All right.
So, but we're all thinking Saturday. We are married to Saturdays. Saturday begins BYU Texas Tech.
This is a huge game.
Noon ABC.
Huge game.
And you think it's a play-in game.
I do. I think whoever wins goes to the playoff. Whoever loses, out. Especially if BYU loses.
Well, BYU has no chance to get in if they lose.
Right.
Even though they would only have 2 losses. But, that seems to be the consensus. They really will not get there with a loss. But like we said earlier, Texas Tech they're not an ironclad loss.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And you think they're out if they lose.
I do.
All right.
Maybe I'm just, advocating for Miami. I don't know. But I think Texas Tech should be out if they lose.
Okay, so that one, noon ABC. 4:00 ABC, Georgia, Alabama. We talked about the implications for both those teams. Georgia playing for the bye.
Yes.
Alabama possibly playing for their playoff lives. Although, you question the fairness of they earn their way to the championship game.
Right.
If they get stuck with the loss in there, should that knock them out of the playoffs?
It might. I don't know that it will. It might. And again, this is a rematch, Georgia, Alabama. And can Kirby Smart beat Alabama?
When it counts.
Right. It's 1-7.
Yeah. Big game for Kirby Smart. All right. Duke and Virginia, 8:00 ABC.
We've talked a lot about this game.
Yeah. I look, even though we think of that nightmare scenario for the ACC where Duke wins, Virginia the clear favorite here.
Yes, and they've already played each other, and Virginia won.
Right. So, again, another reason not to have this is the championship game.
Right.
But ACC,
Come on, Jim Phillips, you got to do a better job
yeah,
here.
yeah, he does. All right, and then 8 o'clock, as we talked about, Indiana, Ohio State. I
Huge
think.
game, yes.
Well, not as huge as it should be.
Well, we know at the end of the week we'll have one unbeaten team left.
Right. And maybe that's what you play for is, hey, Ohio State, they won the championship last year. They weren't unbeaten.
Right.
Maybe they go and say, hey, we'd like to be unbeaten. And of course, Indiana, maybe they say, look, why should we ever lose? We're
Right.
We're Indiana. It's just the attitude that Kurt Signetti's imbued with that team is why not us?
But I think Indiana needs to prove that they are among the college football elite, not just in the Big Ten, but overall in the college football league. They've never. I don't know if they ever won a Big Ten championship, or maybe it's been a very long time.
I think at this point though, Indiana doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. Not with this game. Look, I wouldn't think less of Indiana if they lost
Right.
to Ohio State in this game.
Right.
Because I would say, well, look, I don't know if we saw Indiana's best shot.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the playoffs, play them again, maybe we'll see a different Indiana team.
Exactly.
So yeah, this game just doesn't have the juice.
Yeah.
As watching as a fan, it just doesn't capture me. Maybe it should, but it just doesn't.
Yeah. And again, we've always known Indiana as a basketball school.
Right.
Who knew that they're going to be a football school?
Well, it's happened
Yes.
for sure. All right. Well, so listen, subscribe because we're not stopping.
Hit the subscribe button.
Even though the regular season is over.
That's right.
We've got a lot of game left.
Yes.
Playoffs coming up, bowls to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be back here to talk about who got in,
Yes.
who was left out. Did the committee make the right call? Did they not? And then we'll look at the playoff bracket, the bowl projections.
Mm-hmm.
Lots to talk about.
Still a lot to go.
You don't want to miss it. If you've listened and watched to this point, my goodness, you must be a fan. So hit the subscribe button.
And give us a like too.
Yeah, and comment if you got something to say. Maybe you think Texas Tech is a lock.
Right.
Maybe you are really excited for Ohio State and Indiana.
And tell us why.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know, and we'll see you